In this video, we'll be mounting a 40-inch light bar on the 5th Gen 4Runner. I'll show you which light bar I decided on, what modifications were necessary to make it work, how I ran the wires, and the final operation. Stick around. You may see a banner on the top left of your screen that says paid promotion or something similar, and I wanted to talk about that just for a moment. I have dozens of companies that contact me asking me to try their products out. I'm very selective in the products that I choose to do videos on, and I do not accept money for doing those videos. I choose products that I believe are worthy of you or I using on our own vehicles, and if I don't put it on my vehicle or another vehicle I'm working on, I usually do a giveaway on those products. I had pretty specific requirements on the light bar I was looking to mount and do a video on, and this particular light bar happened to fit those needs. This is the Nilight Pro 40.3-inch light bar. Let me show you what it comes with. The wiring harness is pretty standard. It comes with a switch, inline fuse, and relays. Now we're going to be cutting this wire harness up and connecting it to a switch panel, but I will be doing that in a follow-up video. It comes with all the necessary mounting hardware, including the L brackets. However, depending on your roof rack, those L brackets might need a little bit of work. So standing up here, looking at the air deflector in the front of the vehicle, this is one thing that Prinsu dropped the ball on. You can see they did a great job with all their crossbars. They have these drop-in points, and there's actually 6 on each crossbar. However, when it comes to the deflector in the front, they did no drop-in points. So I had to, and I kind of hacked it a little bit. I did it last night, and I was on a terrible angle. Probably didn't have the right tools either when I did this, but I used a drill bit, and I tried to deburr it a little bit to enlarge the hole here. So I made my own one drop-in point, and we're going to drop those carriage bolts in here and then slide them out to the side so we can mount those L brackets onto the light bar there. So CBI, Prinsu guys, if you're watching, add a few drop-in points on these deflector bars here so we can mount some lights easily and not have to unbolt them from the side here. So I had a couple options. We can use these little drop-in T-nuts, and they'll actually drop in. Well, if you modify the bracket, they'll drop in, and then you can slide them to your point where you want them. These actually work really well. The problem is I didn't have studs that were short enough to work with the L brackets, so I decided to opt out for those, and instead I used carriage bolts. Now when they were round, they didn't fit into the drop-in point. They were actually too big also for the width of the slots. So I did modify it to flatten it out so it fits inside the slots a little bit better. And once you drop these in, and then you could just use a nut. So I had plenty of nuts to fit these drop-in carriage bolts, so we'll use these instead. We're going to work at taking those round heads on the carriage bolts and angling them off so they fit inside those slots on the roof rack there. So once I get it clamped up into the vise here, I'm going to take a cut-off wheel and I'm going to cut the sides off to right angle them. What I just did to that bolt, I actually had to do to the L brackets that came with the light bar as well. You can see here as I compare the underneath mounting area, the width on the right side was quite a bit thicker than the width on the left side. So I had to cut the sides off, make it a little bit thinner, so I was able to clear the air deflector in the front. Now I'm going to hit both sides with a flap disc so I can smooth everything out. Now I hit the brackets with a little bit of paint before installing them. So the mounting and the installation of the light bar is actually quite easy. I spent more time trying to figure out, number one, is this thing takes a 40-inch light bar, and this is a 40.3-inch light bar, and with the brackets it makes it quite a bit bigger. So the question is this light bar going to fit into the 40-inch cutout that Prinsu says is the max size for a light bar on this rack? Secondly, the L brackets I had to modify. Those would not fit with the air deflector plate coming up it was just too thick. So that had to be modified. And then I had to figure out how to do the drop-in carriage bolts or drop-in T-nuts. And then I had to actually modify the carriage bolts to fit. So there was a little bit of preparation beforehand. I say I spent about an hour to get everything that I need. Now I'm just gonna go mount the light bar up and we'll see. That should be the easy part. Just gonna snug this up because we're gonna be adjusting this once we get it on the roof there. Alright guys, I don't know if I can tell right now, it actually fits. There's plenty of room. I don't know why they said 40 inch. You could probably get a 41, maybe a 42 depending on the width of the L brackets. What I can see right now is that it's sitting a little bit lower than I want. So it's going to cover the driving light on the bottom. Because we got sun coming in from the back, so the lighting kind of sucks. I apologize. I'm going to try to get a better angle soon. I need to lift that light bar up a little bit. So I'm going to try to find some spacers. I'm going to put them underneath the L brackets on each side, and that should lift it up just a little bit. All right, so I got really lucky. So I'm a handyman, and I do a lot of different types of jobs, so I keep a lot of hardware on hand. I always have washers, bolts, nuts, things like that. So I have several of these. This is from, if you ever mounted a TV, those TV mounts always come with this array of different bolts, nuts, and spacers. So I can see in here right now that I have these spacers. They're plastic and they're going to be just fine. So these actually would probably be pretty good, and if I need to go bigger, we do have the really large ones here, and I can actually take these and stack them if I need to bring it up just a little bit more. So I have quite a variety. You can always cut these down because they're plastic, even if they're metal. If you have the right tools like these cutoff wheels, you can cut these down. So I'm going to go put spacers in. I'm going to lift that L bracket up just a little bit, and we'll see if we can get some good clearance on those driving lights. All right, so we got the light bar all mounted there. Lighting sucks. We're getting the sun from the back. I'm going to show you a couple different angles here, and then we'll pull us out of the garage too. But the mounting was actually quite easy. That wasn't the hard part at all. I'll show you up here. Okay, so this is the wind deflector in the front right here, and it's got a cutout, as you can see here, and you can see my Prinsu Pro video that I did too, but it's got a cutout that runs all the way across, and there's a cutout on the other side. It's supposed to fit up to a 40-inch light bar. This is a 40.3-inch light bar. I'm going to venture to say that potentially it can fit up to a 42-inch light bar. There's still room here on the mount. What might be the issue here is this bracket right here might interfere with an L bracket depending on the manufacturer of light bar you get. But this is the Nilight Pro, close to 15 watt output with both lights on, aluminum housing, waterproof, dustproof. And then on the bottom here is a LED strip. That's the driving lights. I believe that takes about a 1 amp draw when it's on. The top is the main light, and that's a spot and flood combo. That takes, I think, probably close to 14 amps. And then when they're both on, about 15 amps or so. Mounting the light bar is really not a problem. It's all the preparation of making sure the L bracket fits near the air deflector, especially with the Prinsu Pro, but your rack might be different. So I had to grind down to narrow these out a little bit. I had to use spacers underneath. I don't know if it's going to show or not, but I ended up using 2 spacers to lift the light bar up so I can clear the front of the deflector right here. So that's all kind of easy stuff. But I have a couple different options on how to run these wires. I will eventually connect this to my switch panel. I've done a lot of switch panel videos, and this has 2 modes on the light. So people always ask me, hey, when you have more than 1 mode, how do you connect it to the switch panel? I'm going to show you on the next video. So we're just going to run it off the wire harness that comes with it right now. We're going to end up hacking into this, and I'll show you exactly how I do that. I'll passenger side is where the wire harness is. Unfortunately, I was hoping it would be on the driver's side here. So here is the connection. Now, I have a couple options. If you've watched my other videos, you'll see that I installed this wire, this Hida wire. It's mounted to the windshield, and you can shove wires in there. Keeps it nice and weatherproof, tight to the windshield, and it's not noticeable. It looks very OEM. I have the wire harness sitting down here, so I have a couple options. The problem is, if I run this wire harness down, this big old plug won't fit inside this piece that I mounted. So I have a couple options. The first one would be I cut the harness here and I cut the harness here. I put the wires together without the plug to make it thinner. That'll fit inside here. And then I weatherproof the connections. I have these weatherproof connections that I can use. What I'm going to try to do actually is I'm going to bring this wire all the way up, and I'm going to try to keep the plug together and here by the light and kind of tie it out of the way, and then just run this wire all the way down through here into the cowl, and then over to the switch panel area, or to the firewall, depending if I do the switch panel or not. But I will do the switch panel, just not right now. That'll be a separate video. The question is the wire harness long enough? Because now we're on the passenger side and have to run it to the driver's side. So we'll take a look at that, and I'll show you what I come up with. I decided to keep the plug in. So the plug is actually right here, but it's going to be tucked in a little bit higher. Guys, I'll put links to everything that I use, like this strip right here. So the wire actually runs inside this strip right there, and then it's going to tuck underneath this plastic piece of the cowl. That will come out. I need to tuck it in just a little bit better there. It'll come underneath where the hood hinge is, and then I'm not going to leave it inside here. I'm actually going to run it on the side here and then over, but I'm just doing it temporarily because I will connect this to the switch panel with the dual modes. So right now I just ran it over to the driver's side. It's got the two relays here. Now, if you're keeping the harness that comes with it and you don't run a switch panel, first of all, I would recommend getting some kind of switch panel. This is the aux beam. I've installed mic tuning in a Tacoma. These are pretty affordable. This one you can get sometimes $110 on sale. Comes with everything. It's well worth it. If you can afford Switch Pros, go Switch Pros, but that's a little out of my budget. It's about $1,000 or so, just depending on the features that you get. So it eliminates the need for all these relays, but if you're not running a switch panel, it's not in your budget, that's fine. You can do this. Mount the relay somewhere, maybe on the side right here, and then this switch, whoop, right there, that would actually run through your firewall back there. Then you'd mount this switch at your chosen location. So right now I just have it connected to the battery, negative and positive. We're gonna run this just to show you how it works. Once again, this is the Nilight Pro 40.3 inch light bar, and it has the two modes. I'll show you the two modes right now, but right now this is temporary. I'm gonna connect to the aux beam switch panel for the next video. On the right side is the green, that's your driving lights. So I'll show you right there. So it's an LED bar. Like I said, I think that takes about 1 amp. This is probably gonna blind the camera, but the right side here is the red one, that's the main light. Yeah, it's a little blinding. So you could turn them both on too. So driving light, I don't know why you would want both, but you can do both. So we'll turn that one off and then we'll turn that one off. Driving light, main light, both. We are going to be hooking up this light bar to the aux beam switch panel in the next video, so stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for sticking around and watching the video. I hope it was helpful to some. I truly enjoy reading all your comments, so please leave them below. I also enjoy answering your questions, so if you have them, please ask. I'm happy to answer them for you. Please hit that subscribe button. I truly appreciate it. It helps the channel out tremendously. And remember, guys, life begins where the pavement ends. I'll see you in the next one.